The NHL kicks off this weekend, man. Very excited about that. I actually really am. I'm very excited for the NHL.
See, I don't think you are.
I am. I'm excited to watch some
I almost
hockey
feel like
games.
you're more excited for the NHL than you are baseball because you don't really have a team in hockey, so you don't have somebody to like really let you
mean I
down
don't have
like
a
your
team in
Mets do.
baseball?
No, you
Or
have a
not?
team in
I'm a
baseball.
Devils fan in hockey.
Are you a diehard Devils fan though?
I don't cry when they lose, but I mean I actually root for them. I mean, yeah. So like last year's playoffs, like I was, edge of my seat watching them play in the playoffs last year. Like really into it, didn't want to miss a game kind of into it. So, but I will say I'm probably
The hockey playoffs were good last year. I can't deny that.
Let's
They
be serious
they
here.
were good last year.
You got Cowboys, Bulls, you got Mets, Devils. And I would put the Devils above the Mets. I actually like hockey more than baseball. So I
See, I feel that it would be different if the Mets were actually good and it gave you something to cheer for.
See, that's the thing. You are right, because if they were at least entertaining to watch,
Yeah, you
that's
would
the
watch
problem.
more
The
baseball.
Mets just are not.
Which is why I'm surprised you just don't jump on it. It's not too late in your life, Dave, to become a Yankee fan.
Wouldn't do it. I specifically picked the Mets out of spite on the Yankees.
But why? Because everybody else...
There's just enough Yankee fans. There's just enough.
And there's not enough Met fans?
Well, we're all miserable together, though, so you don't hear us in a bar. You just see it. Well, you hear us, but it's all crying, and tissues. It's not, yeah.
I mean, listen, you guys aren't the Cubs.
This is true. This
Well,
is
yeah,
true.
it
Could be a Cubs fan.
Life could be a lot worse for you. You could be a fan of any Philadelphia sports team.
Hate Philly teams, man.
They're the worst.
Shout
They
out
don't
to
win
Marissa,
ever.
loves all her Philly teams.
They don't ever win. I'm just saying,
they don't
there's-
win and they talk a lot.
Seattle hasn't had a major sports championship since 1980 as well. There are worse cities you could be. There are worse teams you can pick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, come on.
Then
I'm
the
a
Mets, I mean,
Cowboy
life
fan. There's
isn't
worse
that
teams I
bad.
could be a fan of in football.
I'm just saying, at least you were able to see the Mets go to a World Series. Now, the one that you remember they didn't win in 2000.
Still, it was cool to watch a Subway Series. I thought that was really cool.
I thought it was a great series. I thought it was a great little rivalry they had back then. So I mean, you got to see
Shout
some
out
things.
to the anonymous. Houston Astros are looking for some fans. Yeah, you know what? I just hated the Yankees when I was a kid. I did. I thought it was so ridiculous that everybody loved the freaking Yankees. Everybody. And it was just so annoying. It was just like, I got to root for somebody that is not the Yankees. Be happy I didn't pick the Red Sox, right?
You would be happier if you picked the Red Sox, because then at least you would have got to see a couple championships.
Yeah, but I think what would have made me happier being a Red Sox fan would be the arguing with all the Yankee fans and being like, well, the Yankees suck. No, the Red Sox suck. All that nonsense.
But
That
not
would
to
have been
turn
fun.
this into a Met-Yankee talk here, because we were talking some hockey. Because the hockey season does kick off. Baseball's still 21 days away, you said, Dave? 3 weeks for pitchers and catchers?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So we got some time.
Not 23. I appreciate you not busting my chops on that one, but I had to laugh at myself.
Yeah. So we got some hockey and some good matchups, actually, this weekend as well, right?
We actually do. When it comes down to hockey, I'm got some in-state rivalry going on. Speaking of New York, Boston, you got the Rangers playing the Bruins. Should be exciting. Both playoff teams from last year.
I'm hoping that the Rangers can keep the momentum of last year going, and
Well, they got a good team. They bring in Brad Richards, who's a really, really, really good hockey player.
And Nash, too, or something, didn't they?
Yes.
Rick Nash.
Rick Nash, yeah. Yeah, Rick Nash, Richards. You got Lundqvist in goal. Oh, I can't wait to I love
Gaborik.
talking hockey. The Rangers are one of the teams that you will see in the playoffs. I don't doubt that for a second, unless they get hurt by injuries or something. The one thing you got to worry about, actually, let's run through the games real quick, and then I'll say this. So you got Rangers at Boston. You got the Pittsburgh Penguins at the Philadelphia Flyers. So you got your PA teams playing each other. You got the Chicago Blackhawks playing the Los Angeles Kings, your defending Stanley Cup champions. Chicago is actually, I think they were like the 2 seed last year, but they were eliminated in the first round, if I remember correctly, because the Kings were an 8 seed last year. They made it all the way through, which they were just.
I'm
sick to
rooting
watch.
for another Devils Rangers Eastern Conference final.
I don't think anybody that lives in this area would disagree with you on that one. You
Well, I
can't
know one
beat
person
that.
who would disagree.
Oh yeah, I know.
Fife
Would just get, you know.
I have a feeling Marissa would disagree with that as well because she'd probably want her Flyers in there.
I don't know. If she didn't write it in the chat room, I'm not.
I'm
gonna
just saying,
believe
as
that.
far as being a Philly fan, that
well,
she
yeah.
is.
If anything, that's what she wants to see. She'd rather see her Flyers versus the Penguins. Boo.
Speaking of the Penguins, though, can Sidney Crosby get back to being Sidney Crosby already? Or is he just going to be a guy that every, year we're just going to have to see him miss blocks and blocks of games
Yeah.
because everybody's worried about his concussions.
Yeah. Which is sad too, man, because watching him play hockey is actually a lot. That kid is.
Yeah.
He's special on the ice. I
remember years ago, before he even got into the NHL, and this is a shout out to my buddy Roger. I remember sitting at the bar with Roger, and Roger turned to me and he says, "There's this kid coming, Sidney Crosby, Sid the Kid, and he is going to be something special." He goes, "I'm telling you now, this kid is going to be good." And he goes, "You're going to hear his name a lot." He goes, "But I'm telling you right now, this is going to be somebody you're going to be talking about."
Yeah.
And I sat back and I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "I'm telling you, he is the next great thing coming to hockey."
And he wasn't wrong. The only thing that sucks is he can't stay healthy. Literally, I mean, that's the only thing that sucks. I'm a huge fan of Sidney Crosby. I think the kid is extremely talented. But the concussions are just, they don't want to rush him back. They don't want to do this. And I understand that. He's the future. Literally, not just to the Penguins, but the NHL looks at him as the future, one of the future faces and already faces of their league. He's a guy that they can use to promote the league as a whole because he's that damn good.
Yeah.
Ovechkin was a guy that they looked at like that early. He had a really good first year, good second year, and then I believe the past 2 years he's sort of struggled a little bit. It hasn't been the same production from Ovechkin. But Crosby's just that guy. So I hope he's healthy. I know. I'm almost.
Well, Adam Oates going to Washington now should really help Ovechkin. I mean, talking with Fife, and I know he actually threw this in the chat yesterday, that he thinks with Adam Oates there in Washington, you could see Ovechkin go back to a 50-plus goal scorer. That you could see him go back to being one of the best players in all of hockey, if not the best player in all of hockey.
Yeah. And I don't argue with that at all. I really do think. I mean, when people were comparing, he looks like Lemieux or Gretzky or this guy or that guy, and you're like.
By the way, shout out to Julie Jules. Haven't seen her in the chat much this week. I'm sure she's been busy with work and whatnot, but
I told her,
good to see her back in the
her
chat.
Her timing couldn't be better. I mean,
good to see her back in the chat.
She was
Shout
waiting
her out.
for hockey to get here. Another decent game you got. You got Devils at the Islanders, which should be fun to watch. You got Toronto at Montreal, a little battle of the
wait, by the way, the
Canadian teams.
Islanders are never fun to watch.
They have been pretty bad.
And aren't they playing at they're moving out of, they're not in Nash Coliseum anymore, are they?
That I don't
Didn't
know.
they move to the Barclays?
No. They're trying to get them to move to the Barclays. They're not officially set for that yet. The guys that all those guys that own the Barclays Center are trying to get a hockey team in there as well. But as of right now, no hockey team.
I'll tell you what, I would be beyond bitter if the Devils ever thought about moving.
No way. I don't think so. I don't think the Devils would.
I mean, I know they built Prudential pretty much for the Devils.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping the Devils wouldn't want to move. But
you never know.
if they want a team that bad,
if the
you never
price
know.
is right, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are some of the games I'd look at. I'm trying to see. Yeah, I mean, Detroit at St. Louis. Detroit's always pretty good. St. Louis, I think, was actually one of the top seeds last year as well. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the. I wonder if I can get last year's.
And Carl, Sidney Crosby is a bit of a crybaby at times and does tend to get a few more calls than other players get, but you can't deny Sidney Crosby's talent. Kid's talented, man. He really is. But I still think the Rangers could have enough firepower to get them back to another Eastern Conference championship. Maybe add Nash is that piece they need to get them over the hump to get them into the finals this year. I hope so, man. I'm really rooting for my Rangers hard.
Oh, man.
This year.
The Rangers got some...
Rangers and Devils, and I know people give me crap about that all the time, but I enjoy watching both teams. I really do.
Rangers' first 2 games, this is awesome. Rangers at the Bruins, and then the Penguins come to MSG to play the Rangers. That's a hell of a 1-2 for a Saturday, Sunday if you're a Rangers fan. I'm telling you right now, that's awesome. But, I look at hockey, I'm very excited it's back. It's fast-paced, it's nonstop. If you're not into hockey, I'll tell you right now, I actually think that this is a locked out, shortened season that could actually grab people, because apparently I still think they're sticking with that all conference games only thing, which it means it's going to be literally a race to playoff positioning, because every game is going to matter in this one, because they play, how they play for points.
I've stressed this to you, and no matter what sport we've talked about, every game matters in every sport.
Says the guy that told me that when the Cowboys beat the Giants in week 1, it didn't mean much.
It meant something. I didn't say it didn't mean much.
I'm not saying you said it didn't mean anything, but you definitely looked at me and said, it doesn't mean that much. It's only
every
week 1.
Game matters. How many times have I told you baseball games in April matter? Baseball games in May matter. When you have a division race that comes down to 1 game, it doesn't matter whether it's basketball, hockey, football. Every game matters. And that game that you lost, if you're in football, and that game that the Giants lost in September to the Cowboys ended up weighing on how the end of their season could have went. Every basketball game, every year, seedings are decided by 1 game or 2 games.
Somewhere.
And you can look back at a game in November or a game in December in the NBA and say, well, if that game would have went differently, these standings are different.
Yeah.
Every game matters. And every game's going to matter in this hockey season. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to gain fans from this. I think they'll be lucky just to keep the numbers that they had from last year.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I still think they're going to struggle coming out of the gate.
Yeah, they had a good year last year. Well, what's going to suck for them is that most of these players are in good shape, but they're not in, that whole game shape line they give you. You know that's true, though. These guys are not going to be in the shape you're used to seeing them in. But on top of that, what's good is that means most of these teams won't start playing their best hockey until towards the tail end of their season going into the playoffs, which means it should really set fans up for a hell of a Stanley Cup playoffs again. So they need to hope and do a very, very good job of marketing their games, making sure they're on TV, doing whatever they got to do to make sure that fans are watching their games to get them back into hockey itself. You just have to. It's up to their marketing department and the whole business side of the game right now to make sure that they do things the right way, because the hockey players are going to go play hockey. That's just what they do. But the business people that run the NHL are really going to have to be smart with how they market their teams and push their teams and just really, get that right player on your commercials, your local TV station commercials. Maybe have your teams a little more than usual, do a little extra charity work or a little. You got to do everything you can to get a connection back with the fans this season, because you have, no matter what, 7 years of labor peace. So you can ride this out. You've got 7 years straight.
And I think over the course of the next 7 to 8 years, you're going to see a rise in the NHL, and you'll see a rise in popularity. But this year, I just don't see it. I think fans are still a little bit bitter this year, and it may take another great playoffs to bring the fans back in. But until that happens, I think the regular season, they may struggle a little bit, because as an average fan, if I'm a guy out there and I'm barely struggling to support my family or support myself, and I see these guys out there arguing over billions and millions of dollars, it kind of upsets me. And you sit there and go, these guys can't figure out how to split a $3 billion piece of pie, and I'm sitting here scrounging for change to buy coffee in the morning.
Yeah. See, but that's what people said about the NFL lockout. The only thing I will say that's different
NFL
is
is
that
a lot bigger.
Yeah, the NFL is the NFL, while NHL is
NHL is still the fourth-rated sport in this country. It is still behind baseball. It's behind basketball.
I actually think it's if you were including college sports, I actually think it falls even farther down.
Yeah,
but
it was. But up until last year and the great playoffs last year, it was building momentum. And I'll tell you what, last year's playoffs, there was more people talking about last year's playoffs in hockey than there were talking about people in last year's basketball playoffs.
Yeah.
And last year's NBA.
Yeah.
Now listen, March Madness is March Madness, and to me, that's one of the most exciting times of year.
I won't be watching much more. Shout out to Marissa, go VCU.
But when and I think that playoff last year for hockey really grabbed people. And he brought people in, but I think the lockout screwed it up.
Yeah.
If they have another good season and you get some of these big market teams in it like last year, like the Kings won it last year, getting a market like LA, which is not a hockey town,
it
is a basketball town.
No question
into
about it.
hockey is big for that sport. It is big. It's the number 2 market in America.
Right behind New York.
They matter.
Yeah. Well,
if they can get the Kings back involved, you get the Rangers involved, you get the Devils involved, you get the Flyers and the Penguins involved, and the Bruins involved, you get some of these other teams out west involved.
Well, here, I'll get what you're saying about why they had such a good playoffs last year. These are some of the cities that were involved in the playoffs: New York, Boston, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New Jersey. Then you have Vancouver, Phoenix, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles. So you have all these major cities, and including one of your Canadian teams involved.
Yeah.
And when you have that, you're talking your major markets nationwide have something to look into and be excited about. And then the Kings went on their magical ride. You got on the East Coast, you got to watch the Devils and Rangers play. You got to watch the Flyers and Penguins play each other in the playoffs. You got to watch the Flyers and Devils play. You got to watch, you got to see all these great, East Coast matchups. It was just, it unfolded perfectly for the NHL last year, and they really bombed with this strike, man. Talk about being able to ride a momentum, and they just.
But the big thing is hockey comes back this weekend. We have good matchups, like we said. We got the Rangers, Bruins. We got the Flyers and the Penguins, right?
Flyers, Penguins, yep. Devils, Islanders.
Devils, Islanders. We got some good matchups. So, should be some good hockey. Check out a game if you can, if you got some time.